Hello. So today for Dr. Hager's masterclass, I'm going to be talking about how you can incorporate a financial literacy lesson into The Princess and the Frog. I've seen the movie a gazillion times, and especially as an entrepreneur, there have been different times that I've watched it and pulled different things out depending on where I was in my journey. And now that our center has been open and we're not closing anytime soon, I am almost there. So I wanted to pull out some entrepreneurs. Like, we know Tiana wants to open her restaurant, but there are so many other layers of entrepreneurship and types of entrepreneurship that are in this movie that I kind of want to highlight them. So one of the first ones that we come in contact with is the shadow man. And a lesson we can learn about the shadow man is that in business, you can try to cut corners, and sometimes, and even maybe most of the times, you may get away with it and be able to do things a little like shady and still be successful. However, you don't form good bonds with people that way as a business person. And when things go south, you have nothing to hold water. Like, you have nothing to kind of catch you. So, that's why insurance is important when you have a business, making sure you have the proper paperwork. I know there's a lot of people kind of getting tripped up now because they had a business, but they didn't have their corporation paperwork or their LLC. They didn't have any of that. So now it's time to maybe apply for some assistance for your business. But if you don't have those paperwork, you don't have any of that, then you can't apply for it. But anyway, another person in this movie that is an entrepreneur is Mama Odie. And I love Mama Odie because her whole business is run off of referrals. Imagine being at a place in your business where you can just kind of be unbothered with it all and just kind of be, I'm all about being in my little house in the bayou, like away from everybody. And then people are just like looking for me, like come from the far ends of the earth, need an alligator, the whole thing. And that they're able to come and, get my service. And she was very, very unbothered by it all. Like, look, stay frogs. I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me. Stay, I don't need anything from you. And I love it. But she was so willing to help. Another person that is an entrepreneur is Louis. And Louis a musician, but musicians and artists, like, they're entrepreneurs too. And, but with his story, like, imagine having a passion and having a gift for something and wanting to do it so bad and, being met with, your kind aren't welcome here. And we've never had an alligator playing our band before. Like, we've never had somebody like you do this job before. And I'm sure people hear that all the time. And I love the fact that when all is said and done, that he was actually able to live his best life and be a musician. So even if you keep hearing no, like, at some point somebody's going to tell you yes. So you keep going for it. But with Tiana, so initially we think that she's kind of going towards her dad's dream of like opening the restaurant, all that kind of stuff. If we kind of pull some clues out of the movie, I think that we can establish that the setting, well, one, we know is in New Orleans, so we know it's in the South, and based off the clothes, based off of the music, based off of the cars you see, I would venture to say that this is probably early 1900s, probably like 1920s for Tiana, which would put her dad when she's little, probably like early 1900s. And there's a scene in there where you see her dad is in military uniform. So that would tell us that he was in the military. So as much as he loved cooking and how passionate he was about it, and he could use his gift to like bring the neighborhood together, he dedicated his life pretty much for a job for a company that did not care about him. Now, granted, the company was a country, but we know that he wasn't getting paid equally to his white counterparts. I'm sure they didn't have benefits. I'm not 100% certain, but I can imagine that they didn't. And he was working for a company that continued to promote a system of oppression for him and his daughter. But he did it anyway. Every day, every day, every day. And in that scene, so she kind of like does a little like kiss on the frame or the picture of her dad. And immediately you see her changing from one uniform into the other. Do you see the parallels there? Now, granted, it was a restaurant, but, and we don't know what her dad was doing in the military. He very well could have been a chef. If anything, history tells us in regards to military, in regards to Black people, like, that's what they were, that, maybe you saw Pearl Harbor, like, that's a scene I remember. But anyway, and you hear stories all the time where it was just like, you had these really awesome, like, soldiers, and it was like, last resort will pull them out because they're black. Like, just stupidness. So anyway, I can imagine that's probably what was going on with Tiana's dad in the military, is that he probably wasn't a general. He probably wasn't moving up the ranks. They probably were keeping him somewhere, peeling potatoes, pushing a broom, pushing a mop, whatever. But all that to say is that he was working for something that wasn't helping him achieve his dream. It was an ends to a means. It was a paycheck. And I understand why people do that. I get that. But Tiana was doing the same thing. And the reason why I bring that up is because Tiana, there's these scenes of her kind of coming home and saying, oh, you know, bad night for tips. And she has all these jars of coins and a couple dollars here and there. There's a scene in the restaurant where Charlotte, sidebar, get you a Charlotte. I love Charlotte because Charlotte doesn't try to say, oh, I'm super rich, money doesn't matter to me. She finds ways to invest in her friend, and I love it because it was the stack of cash that Charlotte hands over for her beignets, for Tiana's beignets, that pushed her over the edge to be able to go get the restaurant. It wasn't tips from the diner. So what does that tell us? That to really push through, it's going to be your special sauce. It's going to be your passion that's going to be the thing that's going to push you into opening that business. It's not good. If she thought that she was going to, that restaurant was going to actually really give her the money to open, like she would, look how, she hardly had any money. Like if you think that your boss is going to give you an opportunity to do something, and if you have a boss that does that, fantastic. But if you think working for a big company or a big industry and they're going to come down and say, hey, you seem like you're really bright, you have any ideas you want to share with us? Absolutely not. They want you to just be a cog in a machine. Do you think Tiana's boss would have been happy to know that she was going to open another business? Like, who knows? They could have been the ones that put the bid in on her restaurant. Remember when like they wouldn't give it to her at first? Like, so you never know. Like, they don't want her to leave. She's working double shifts. Like, why would you want to not have that as an employee? You want somebody who's gonna work hard. So, yeah, but it wasn't diner money. It was her money. And then I'll roll into the last entrepreneur, and then I'll wrap this up. And I just realized this last week when I watched it. Her mom is an entrepreneur. Tiana's mom makes dresses, and it wasn't after she spends all day being like some domestic, like help at somebody's house, taking care of somebody else's kids, like cleaning somebody else's house, and then come home and let me make a little dress for my daughter. No, that was her business. And you remember seeing the fleet of dresses that she made for Charlotte, and you best believe that if she's making dresses for the king of the Mardi Gras, you knew she was making dresses for all those other rich white people down there. So I would draw the conclusion that Tiana's mom actually did pretty well for herself. When Tiana is the first time she's gonna get the restaurant and her mom comes with the gumbo pot, I don't ever hear her say things like, well, you know, we need money at home. Are you sure you want to spend money on this? No. So a conclusion I would draw is that Tiana's mom did very well for herself, making dresses, walking in her gift, making money from something that she liked doing. And what I liked about when the girls were little and Charlotte wants a dress, the dad says, could you make it? Do you think you'd have time? Would you mind if you could? It wasn't, I need you to make this. Or how soon could you have it for me? It wasn't that. He asked, would you mind? And the big thing about that is when you are in a place that you can say yes or you can say no, that is like the best feeling in the world. When you don't have to do stuff that you don't want to do, like that's some like Mama Odie energy. So anyway, so if you're looking for something to watch Princess and the Frog. Maybe talk to your kids a little bit about types of businesses. You can even kind of ripple it out to people like Charlotte and Naveed. Rich, and what are they deciding to do? You have Naveed, who's kind of like wasting his life away, but you have Charlotte, who realizes that she can be a resource for somebody. No, she's not going to go work, a job, and she's probably is never going to need or want for anything. But she understands her privilege enough to say, hey, you know what? I don't necessarily want to work, but I could be a resource for somebody. And I mean, imagine if she hired Tiana to make those things for the party. And again, just like her mom, if she's good enough to make beignets for the king of the Mardi Gras, then who's to say that all these other people wouldn't also want her stuff? So anyway, be thinking about, and as you talk with this about with your kids, ask them, like, what is your special thing? What is something that is so amazing that this world has to have in it? What is, what's your beignet? I guess that's the question. So, all right. Until next time, be safe.